Is there such a thing as the perfect ham Radio Shack? Probably not. Well, today I'm going to show you mine and the way that I set it up for my live streaming and also for my radios, and some improvements that I've had here might give you a couple of ideas for yourself. First thing I'm going to do is turn off the lights because of the lighting setup that I have in here. Forgive my lighting. Look how terrible it is. So anyway, here's a run through. This here is my new bench. You see this in the background of most of my shots. And I've got a few projects here on the bench. I can only recommend that you should get yourself a decent bench like this. I've got a big cutting mat here as well. I got this off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below to that. That cutting mat is awesome. It allows you to cut on the top of it. You can put stuff on it and you won't scratch or damage it. The only thing is, don't put a hot soldering iron on it because you will burn it. On the bench at the moment is a repeater project. We're rebuilding our 2-meter repeater system. So I've got that there, which I have a lot of work to do on with a few others in the club. So I've got that to do. In a previous video, you saw my fox hunt video, which is the going to use the Baofeng and the Raspberry Pi. I've got all the bits here that I need to do it. Including a little battery and all sorts of other stuff here, and I'm going to mount it in this box so that basically you can take this box out and you can put it out in the field, switch it on, and you can set the fox going. I've also got some stickers. You'll probably notice a couple of the YouTubers' stickers on there. If you want to send me your sticker, then by all means do so. I might even put some QSL cards on this side. Got this cool little light. This was from Bunnings. This was a simple light which is on a swivel, so it allows me to move it back and forth so that I can light up what I want to, and I've just got that double-sided taped to the bottom of the hob. All this is just background stuff pretty much. Electronics bits in these boxes, these are great. You'll notice what I did too is there's a lot of resistors and a lot of capacitor values. So what I do is I just divide them up into 10, so 0 to 100 ohms, 110 to 1k ohms, or ranges, sorry, I should say, 1.1k to 10k, and then that way I can pull them out and I can measure the resistors, and it makes it a whole heap easier to sort the resistors and capacitors out as well. Yoshi sits in the background along with Captain America. As for so I touched briefly on my lighting. So I've got 3-point lighting system here. I've got my 2 Elgato key lights. They light me up as I sit here in front of the camera. I've also got my 3rd-point light, which sort of lights this background in the back of my head. And I've also got these RGB blue lights which light up the wall there, and that's just sort of provides a bit of ambiance lighting. This is my main operating position, and this is where I shoot a majority of my videos. My camera of choice is the Sony ZV-E10 that sits on this Elgato mount, which is over the back of the bench. And now this was, so you'll see this was actually a proper hob which I built and put together. I built this one myself because I wanted a custom height, and it was also a corner desk, so you couldn't get a hob that went all the way around the corner. So I got a little bit of timber and built this myself, which I'm rather proud of. I've got a Grid Tracker and FT8 running there at the moment on the 7300. As you would know in another video, I'm hoping to swap this out to possibly a 7610. There's plenty of room for it. I just don't know if I can afford it. But anyway, we'll see how we go. So I've had some questions about the mic. This is a Shure MV7 microphone. And if you have a look around the back, it uses a USB and an XLR connection as well. So the USB connection goes into the PC, and the XLR connection goes via an isolation transformer circuit interface into the 7300, and you can see the Heil adapter there on the front. I've also got a push button switch, foot switch, which I use for transmitting during my live streams. The power supply that I run is a linear power supply. This has a great big thumping transformer in it. It's not a switch mode supply. This one you can't obtain anymore. It's a 30 amp power supply, but I know that this power supply is clean. It has no RFI, so that's why I use it, especially on HF. You want to avoid all that RFI. Now under the bench, I've also got a couple of Raspberry Pis. These are a couple of All-Star nodes. They don't have any radios, so they're just headless, radioless Pis that sit there running All-Star nodes, so I can connect the other All-Star nodes that I have that do have radios connected to them and use them for linking. This is my HP 8924C test set. At the moment, it is performing the very important job of my light stand. The only thing about these is that they have an old CRT screen in them, and the CRT screen is starting to go out. I use this for aligning radios. I also use it for repeaters and testing those out, so that's going to come in quite handy in the next few months, especially with that repeater project. This one actually come out of Israel, which is actually interesting. It come out of Ashdod, and it took 3 to 4 days, 4 days, via DHL from Israel to Australia back in the year 2010. That there is my certificate of proficiency, so that is issued when you get an amateur radio license. Sometimes the best shack is the one that is practical for you. It's taken me a little bit of time to set this up, but I'm quite happy with it now, especially when I'm shooting videos. It's just turn on the lights and press record now. So, you know, whatever works for you when it comes to your Radio Shack, as long as you've got something which works for you. Don't get like, I've had blow mold tables and just, you know, the kitchen table and all that sort of thing. It's very frustrating because you have to pack it up and you have to get rid of it, and then you have to set it up again. You have to run coax and stuff. If you can get something that's sort of semi-permanent, or you spend a little bit of money to get a decent bench, a decent desk, and then you can build out from there. So, you know, just start from scratch, see how you go with that, and, you know, always build on from there. Now, home stations are great, but sometimes there are massive benefits in getting your ham radio remoted. Check out this ham radio station, which is remote. It is absolutely incredible.